Hello everyone, welcome to eShe TV. I'm Aekta Kapoor. Today I'm going to talk to multimedia artist Deborah Claire Procter about art in the time of uncertainty. Hi Deborah, welcome to eShe TV.
Hi, Akita. How are you today? Nice to meet you.
I'm so excited to have you here. We're going to be talking about, how to find harmony in through art in these uncertain times. And for our viewers, let me introduce Deborah. She's a multimedia artist, actor, and singer from Wales, UK, and she makes performances for theaters, galleries, and site-specific spaces. Her work has been shown in prestigious theaters and galleries from the UK to India. Since 2003, with the support of a commission from the Welsh Independent Dance, she has made over 20 videos with dancers and performers, shooting in locations in Wales, Argentina, and Austria. She has received numerous awards and has trained with the famous Argentinian composer Oscar Edelstein to make the voice work of different pieces of musical theater. She's also been a part time lecturer in many institutions teaching performance, theater, and voice. So Deborah is here. She's going to talk about her latest work and about her vision for a more harmonious world in these difficult times. So Deborah, thank you for being here today. And I'm going to jump straight in with the questions. You've traveled globally for your work and personally. So how did you land up in Argentina from Wales, and now have you laid down your roots here?
I'm an artist, so I'm not sure how deep my roots go. I think it's always about experiencing different things. But basically, I'm from Cardiff, which is the capital of Wales.
Hmm.
And then in around 2000, I moved to West Wales, Aberystwyth, which is a seaside town which has this strange thing of a very powerful university, the University of Aberystwyth,
Hmm.
which is a very bilingual university because not everybody knows that Welsh is a language that's totally distinct from English.
Hmm.
And there I was living in a seaside town, and I think there's something about living close to the sea and then also living in a bilingual place. But definitely living in Aberystwyth got me thinking a lot about it's a very rural place, but it's kind of strange because it was an old spa town. It's got a very powerful university. It's got a powerful library. So
Hmm.
it's a real strong place. You've got the sea. I was living in a house that was overlooking the sea, so I could see dolphins swimming. And then I had an opportunity to apply for a travel grant, and the connection then with Argentina is that 150 years ago, a boat full of Welsh people left Wales to set
Hmm.
up the idea of a new land. They
Hmm.
were religious people and they weren't happy with the way that the English language churches were being operated. So they decided, right, we're going to emigrate,
Hmm.
create a new land. And they went to Argentina, to Patagonia.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so actually, there's this irony that 13,000 miles away from Wales, people are
Hmm.
still speaking this minority language, this mother
Hmm.
tongue. It's kind of mind blowing, those strange things that
Yeah.
happen with travel when the world feels, when you embrace the local. I think there's something as an artist for me as well, that one needs to understand where one's from and then branch out.
Language is so important. I mean, you've talked about Welsh, being a minority language, and still it's found its way on the other side of, the ocean. And has this language part been important in terms of your art as well? This discovery of Welsh in Argentina?
Well, obviously, you're being from India, you're used to this jostle and between, is it
Yeah.
400 languages?
It's a lot, yes. 22 officially, but yeah, hundreds otherwise. And if you count the
Yes,
dialects, it's even more. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but there's, I think what it made me remember as an artist is how much we are constructing communication. And
Yeah.
once I started to understand that the world doesn't change. It just means you need to remember a different name for something. And
Yeah.
so in that sense, I broke through my own fears about speaking a language. And I have to
Mm.
say, the Argentinians are very generous. I would throw all kind of mangled sentences at them, and they were always think nobody's ever corrected me. No, I don't think anybody's ever corrected me. They kind of go with the flow, and that's been very encouraging as a learner.
Yeah. You've traveled to India as well. You came to Kerala. Can you tell us about that visit?
Well, there's a lot for me for India. I'll tell you a story about where my connection really began with India. When I was first born, I had something called bleeding measles.
Okay.
Yeah, and my parents were friends of doctors from
Okay.
the Gujarat who just
Okay.
moved to Wales, and my
Hmm.
parents helped them to learn English. So when, as a baby, I had this medical problem, the our doctor friend helped us. Dr. Shah helped us
Mm.
help my mother get the medicine, so I didn't have to go into hospital. So I had this
Okay.
since I was a baby, I've had this connection with India. They used to
Mm.
make us jam puris,
Oh,
puris with jam
okay.
in the middle, which I remember
That's
loving as a
interesting.
child. So I had this long kind of deep connection with India and a fascination. Um, and actually, when I studied theatre at Exeter University, we were introduced to kathakali as a kind of
Oh,
model of,
kathakali. Yeah.
we did a whole module studying kathakali and exercises. And then later on, I again through Aberystwyth, which is this small place of I think 7,000 inhabitants, they had invited a professor called Philip Zerilli, who's an expert in kalaripayattu. And he had discovered that actually a lot of the movement forms from kathakali had originated in kalaripayattu, which is obviously
Hmm.
the martial
Hmm.
art of
Hmm.
Kerala. I made a solo performance based on Hildegard de Bingen. So
Okay.
she was a German mystic, saint, spiritual person, and a colleague, Gita Kolanad, made
Mm-hmm.
a
Yes.
solo based on Mahadevi, and I know you've interviewed Gita.
Gitanjali Kolanad. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we made two solos that were directed by Philip Zerilli, and we went to Kerala to perform them.
Hmm.
Actually we rehearsed in Kerala, and then we performed in the Madras Theatre,
Madras. Yeah.
beautiful old theatre, and then also we went to Baroda University
Hmm.
and performed there. So yeah, Kerala's very close to my heart. I then travelled there a few years back with Oscar Edelstein because he
Mm-hmm.
was very interested in the percussion of Kerala. So we met
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
Kutan Mara, who's a famous Chenda player in Trishore.
Hmm.
So yes, I mean, I think as an artist, Indian art forms have so much to offer,
Hmm.
so many fascinating. I think more than anything, the dedication and that sense
Hmm.
of dedicating oneself, the
Yeah.
study, the practice, the hard work. It
Yeah.
really was something that appealed to me as an artist.
Yeah, in fact, most Indian art forms have a deeper purpose than entertainment. It's more about a union with yourself and the universe, or even the divine, if I can say so. So, it requires like a lifelong commitment. Like you said, it's a daily practice.
Yes, and it is that line of you have to lose yourself in the practice.
Yeah,
It's very fascinating as an artist to see the whole idea of the space, creating spaces that are sacred.
yeah.
And yeah, it taught me a lot and
It's
formed
like a
me a lot.
worship of the craft, you know. Yeah, it's a form of worship. So, what did you like best about India?
That's an impossible question. It's the people are just
Yeah,
are so warm-hearted. They're so curious, and I love that. I think
yeah,
Oscar Edelstein found that as well. For him, a little bit the shock was coming from Latin America. It was all new
yeah.
to him,
Uh-huh.
But he just loved the expressiveness of the people, and how much kind of joy there is, even though
Mm.
circumstances can be very
Mm.
difficult. It's kind of fascinating
Yeah.
how the spirit, the determination, really, of
Mm. Mm.
um, uh, to do one's best. So I love
Yeah.
the textures of the fabrics, just
Mm.
just in Kerala, seeing the people with selling vegetables in the streets.
Yeah.
Um, Amazing. And being with an Argentinian was very funny, because we'd be in a rickshaw, and
Yeah.
people would be driving in the rickshaw, and somebody would say, "Well, where are you from?" I'd say,
Huh.
"Wales." Nothing. Driving along, "Where's your good country?" Oscar would say, "I'm from Argentina." I'm like, Messi, Messi, Maradona, Maradona, Messi. I was like, you could see it.
Oh yeah.
Oscar was very happy, and
Yeah.
yeah. So I love the sense of ritual, the sense of heritage,
Mm.
that you respect the lineage. I guess the
Yeah.
problem sometimes for an Indian artist is how to break that lineage. I know
Mm.
Geeta Kolanad, as a Bharatanatyam dancer, talked about that a lot. How she
Yeah.
felt kind of that she couldn't fully express herself in
Mm.
classical Bharatanatyam, so
Yeah.
she incorporated kalaripayattu,
Kalaripayattu. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
other influences. And fascinatingly, now she's writing novels.
She's
She's
an
a
author and
novelist.
she's written
I
about a
love that.
Devdasi tradition. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Deborahs tradition, and I think her novel is a thriller. It's called
Yeah.
Girl Made of Gold.
Yes, I've read
About
it. I've reviewed it. Yeah.
ah,
Yeah.
and
It's a
that's
beautiful book. Yeah.
it's fascinating how she's taken her art form and
In a
moved it to
different
a different place.
direction.
Because I
Yeah.
think that is the tension, isn't it? In India, there's the tension of what's the new, how do you express the new without
Mm.
dishonoring
The
tradition.
old. Yeah. That's true. So you've also studied NLP and hypnosis. So how do you incorporate that in your work?
I started neurolinguistic programming is it's kind of modern in a way. It's a mashup of various different therapists
Mm.
it's kind of a shorthand for a lot of thinking that is about communicating better. And I think because I came from originally a dance background,
Mm.
I always found talking quite difficult, or there was always so much I wanted to say that I either said everything or nothing. It was kind of like I felt like I was driving a car and changing gears, and I just never quite got it. I was very much a bookworm. I don't know about you, but I'm a bookworm, a nerd. Um, and at a certain point, as a mid-career artist, I realized you've got to start explaining what you do, Deborah, or nobody will ever understand. And I think neurolinguistic programming really helped me, because it is so much about perceptions, about the process of communication, about the process that we've got that world out there. It's full of color and shapes and perspectives and
Mm.
language. We're always using language to try, and it's an approximation, realizing
Mm.
that language is always an approximation. And hypnosis is fascinating because on one
Mm.
level, um, the concept is that we can never experience all of reality. We're always experiencing a segment, because
Mm.
I can't see what's behind me. I can't hear what's happening in India. It's like we're
Mm.
always seeing a fragment of reality.
Coinciding. Mm.
So then the question is, how are you choosing that? Are the kind of model of maybe part of being very depressed is that, I'm concentrating on what I don't have. The cliche is
Mm.
is the glass half full or the glass is half empty, and it makes it sound really easy, and it's not easy. But however, the seed of it is like, well, what am I concentrating on? Am I getting the results I want? It's quite intriguing. I could talk about it all day.
No, it's also, I think from what I've studied in NLP and hypnosis, it's about reframing, like you said, we can't see everything. So how do we reframe our way of looking at things? And, so is that what you try to do through your art as well? You're trying to reframe what you see as reality and present it in a different way?
I think, yeah, my favorite teacher from the NLP kind of world is somebody called Stephen Gilligan, who was a
Mm,
student of Milton Erickson, who's very important in
mm,
the development of neurolinguistic programming. And he talks about we need to repoetize. I was like, yes, yes. What would we do without poetry? It's almost like
mm,
there's a huge amount of life that is really boring, and
mm,
so we need art, we need conversation, we need stories, comedy. We need it, because if not, there's a large amount of life that is repetitive, and especially as women,
mm,
as my mother would always say, a woman's work is never done. I mean, yeah,
mm,
there's a
mm,
certain, I think as humans we do crave something more, and
mm,
therefore yeah, hypnosis, poetry, music,
mm,
candlelight, moonlight, all those things, they do help us reach
mm,
something else that I think,
mm,
yeah, feeds our souls.
mm,
I
mm,
feel like the mind and the body are so attached in ways
mm,
that we don't fully understand, and that's why a yoga practice is something that starts to make us realize, what are we capable of. So martial arts, I think I studied kalaripayattu. I went
mm,
to study with Mohammed Sharif in Kannur.
mm,
And I suppose because it feels to me that art needs to be something more. And so the
mm,
idea of training the body, of disciplining the body, is a way to
mm,
find that difference, find that little bit extra. And um, so for me, when I perform on stages in the ensemble of Oscar Edelstein, um,
mm,
I feel like I need to try and bring some magic.
mm,
What
mm,
to bring something. Lots of people call it extra daily.
mm, mm, mm,
What's that spark? What's that magic that and martial arts is a way of preparing, the whole idea of cleaning the space before you start, the idea that
mm,
you touch the
mm,
floor, touch the and I studied a lot of Pilates during lockdown, and
mm.
really you start to feel the interconnections, and the way
Yeah,
that the body, the
yeah.
movement of the arm doesn't start with the arm; it actually starts in the lower back. And
Mm. So
mm, mm.
these two new pieces that you've come up with, can you tell us about the background? What were they inspired by, and or what do they mean to you?
There's two songs. One song is called El Rio, which means the river, and
Mm,
that is a poem that was written by an Argentinian poet, Juan L. Ortiz. But it's about that kind of difference between culture and nature. And then the
mm,
second song is called Mariposa Electrica,
mm,
and it's a poem that Oscar wrote, and it's about a butterfly that lands on my shoulder and fills me with like a laser like passion, that makes me remember. And this butterfly talks to me with its
mm,
wings. So it's a
mm,
really, really beautiful poem, very, very, very crazy. It's like this butterfly
mm,
that talks to me. It's
mm,
the two songs are quite poetic and magical. They're not traditional. Um, they go to a register in my voice that is so high that it is almost like my voice starts to break. So it's very. I hope it'll be evocative for people. I think it's the kind of music that you just it's meant made to make you wonder, made to make you look again and again. All art to me is that re-looking, look
mm,
again, look again, look again.
mm,
My favorite theatre director was a Polish guy called Jerzy Grotowski, and he used
mm,
to tell his actors, "Don't be a tourist," and that
mm,
that used to scare me so much as a young actor, thinking, don't be a tourist, am I being a tourist? And it's not, it's kind of like, it's not saying don't travel, but it's saying don't travel so far from yourself that, you know, the stereotype of the British that go to Spain and they ask for fish and chips and they never try. It's the stereotype, but it's also so true. And especially for young people caught up in the whole Instagram thing, it's so easy to travel out of,
Yeah.
yes, travel out of your comfort zone, but it's almost like, remember, find who you are, be who you are, and extend from that. I don't know if that makes
Mm,
sense, but
mm, mm,
that's where I try to work from. So like traveling is also returning.
mm. It's important because in the pandemic, not we couldn't really travel, but through art, and through poetry, through song, through dance, and through communication, even if it's through the internet, we were able to travel in a certain way, at least, with our imaginations, with our minds, and perhaps with our new connections that we made with one another at this time. Um,
It and that's been fantastic. That side of things has just been amazing, and I really dug into going into LinkedIn, meeting people, and having conversations. I met some amazing people, and there was this
mm,
sudden openness, and there was this sudden open playing field of it doesn't matter where you are in the
yeah,
world. We could share perspectives on this thing that was happening to us. And yeah, the world is so complicated that I try to make it simpler for myself. And
mm,
this is why I love what you do with eShe, because it is about conversations, sharing knowledge, experiences, to try and make things simpler. Because when things are simpler, then there's more space for the other good things in life.
yeah. And when we connect, I think, with each other, I think it humanizes us, right? We are able to
Yeah,
see beyond the labels. We're able to see beyond the front, what the garment that everybody puts on. We're able to see the spirit behind that.
yeah.
And I think it's beautiful that the work that you're doing. I've heard the two new tracks you're talking about, and the links are going to be shared in the notes along
Oh,
with the
good.
video. It's haunting, and you're right. It makes you want to listen to it again, and every time you listen to it, you see something new in it. So it is something really worth listening when you're alone, and
Mm.
when you can really immerse yourself in it. So I recommend it a lot to all the readers and the viewers and the listeners. Please go ahead and click on the links along with the notes. And thank you, Deborah, for sharing your time and for being
Oh,
here
thank you.
and for sharing your presence and your thoughts with me here today. And I really wish you all the best now for your next journey. And when are you coming to India next?
I don't know. I haven't been for a long time.
Well,
That would be,
hopefully now that the
yeah.
travel is opening up, maybe
I
maybe
I
something
hope
will
so.
come up.
I hope so. I miss it. I miss so
Yeah.
much. Yes. So
Yes.
well done for the
Well,
work you're doing as well, because I think we all need to make these international connections and connections between continents, that are bridges, so we don't fall into stereotypes about each other's cultures. Yeah, I
yeah,
think.
absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much, Deborah, for being here, and we'll continue the conversation. I think through our different spaces and through our different platforms that now we're connected with. And yeah, wishing you all the best. And bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thanks so much. Bye bye.